on Mahuhina Covenant. We've done several things. We installed, as well as we have the Turks on that land, as well as that, we installed five public toilets. We do some track maintenance. So generally, every one of our annual meetings, we try and do something good. And it's part of the ethos to say that, hey, we can do this, we can run a club, and we can also do something good for the land it's on. So how the club works, basically, your membership is by either helping to make these things, 10 hours is what we decided, either a financial contribution or a financial contribution towards the capital cost, which is currently $300 per person, or for a family, and it's $1,200. And this is a once in a lifetime contribution. So all these things are once in a lifetime. So the idea is you're basically contributing to the capital of the infrastructure of the club, and then once these things are established, what we charge to stay in them covers the depreciation. And as a general rule, there's a huge list of people who are saying, hey, when you're doing something, when can we get involved? And I think a lot of it is, building things like this picture here is actually a lot of fun. And it's a surprising number of people put a ton of effort into building the Turks. And some of them I don't know if we can stay one night. But, it's just they really wanted to be involved and do something for the community. So, what has prompted this meeting is I was backcountry skiing in the Doolans with some friends, and we were discussing the remarkable ski field expansion into the Doolans, and it suddenly popped into my head. It's like, well, we're going to lose all this accessible backcountry terrain. How can we get something good out of it? And until that point, I've just been thinking about, oh well, as long as we can get a cheap pass to the edge of the ski field boundary, then, well, it's pretty well the same. And then I sort of thought some more. I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could actually have some resources and some backcountry Turks in there to actually make sort of overnight stays and things a bit more possible. Actually, just before I carry on, so the plan for this evening is I'm going to work through these slides for about 20 minutes, and then I've got Paul Anderson's going to just give us 5 minutes about what we're doing in the ski field. Neil Simpson's going to give us 5 minutes about some of the ecology, and then we're just going to have a chat, and I'm going to try and gauge where everyone's at. So the expansion of the Doolans, basically it's in the fast track process. It's not approved yet. I don't really understand how the fast track process works. I sort of thought when I first heard of it was just a big rubber stamping machine, and you kind of set your thing in it, and I said that'll make money if you've got a rubber stamp off your wet, but it seems to be, I sort of thought by now they'll all be rubber stamped and it'll all be go. But yeah, I'm confused. Paul's probably confused as well, and you might be able to shine some light on it, but yeah. So the expansion of the Remarkables in red is roughly where the current ski area is, and then their planned expansion is into the Doolans in the green. I'll leave it up to Paul to kind of explain a bit more detail of it. So just a few screenshots from some of the material about NZ Ski. Basically, the Remarkable ski area, it's about 275,000 skier days. And their planned expansion, they've got some big number fixed. And I suppose I just want to show these more from the point of view of discussing how the decision will be made on the expansion. And I see it as being largely driven out of Wellington. I would say that we're looking at foreign exchange earnings. I would say they'll be going, well, we want to build a new hospital in Dunedin. How does the economics of it work and things? So again, I'll leave this up to Paul just to put more details in. My guess is that they're going to sort of bomb up there and over into the Doolans on that side. So this is just some screenshots out of their brochure. So as I said before, idea is to say, okay, we've got this change going on. Can we create this as an opportunity? Can we make something better for the backcountry community and people who like being outdoors? So the expansion increases the accessibility. Well, I suppose, yeah, can we increase the accessibility? I'm thinking what we're going to do here has got to be good for both summer and winter. Yeah, we're here to understand people's perspectives, and also, you know, it's not just about skiing, it's also about walking in summer and snowshoeing and things. And I even put astronomy in there. It's one of the residents and lives down Gibson Valley, is Brian Worth, who, you know, I've met him once or twice. He looks like he's a very keen astronomer who's part of a team that won a Nobel Prize for measuring the expansion of the universe, and things like that are just so cool that have a place that he can sort of point his telescope into the heavens from up high. It's just very, very good. And a few other things, equally with these Turks, like with Mahu Whenua, we have managed to produce a human effort to improve the area. And I believe we can also produce revenue to do more conservation. But you've got to remember the purpose of the club is not to make a profit. We're not a business. And in some ways, having 130,000 in the bank is not a good thing for a club, because a club's actually really about doing good things for its members. It's not about trying to accumulate money and things like that. So I do believe if what we're doing in this area is done well, it can have positive conservation output. And, you know, as an example of this, if you look at like the Southern Lake Sanctuary and what they're doing up at the Reefs with the takahe, it's absolutely great. But if you took the humans out of the picture for a year or so, all those takahe will be dead. So in many ways, humans have introduced a lot of problems, and it's also upon humans to try and fix these things. So a couple of perspectives. One of the important ones is Federated Mountain Turk Club, which represents 22,000 members from 93 different clubs. Their approach is that, as I said here, you know, they look at their membership and they say, well, it's pretty divided. Some are very for it, some are against it, and equally, they see it as being an inevitable development. And that's generally been what I've found whenever I've talked to people who are connected in politics, who are involved in the legal process. They say, you know, this thing's going to probably go ahead. It's been, if you look at the original consent for the ski field that was filed way back in the late 1970s, it's identified there, like it's been on the cards since year dot. And as I'll show you a few other things, it's very identified thing. The FMC are very keen to promote good balance and good ecological values. It's like here, okay, have your ski field, but we want to see it under the high ecological standard. And also to make sure there's good facilitation of other recreational users. So what I'm proposing, and these are just ideas that I've threw out there and created, and some people going, wow, that'd be brilliant, and other people said, no, that'd be terrible. So like everything, you know, if you don't throw an idea out there and see how it goes, you never know. So one of them, the three sort of sites I propose is one at Lake Hope, which is, for those who don't know, so there's Queenstown's just off the top there, there's a ski field, and Lake Hope is this lake here. And it's very interesting when you talk to people. It's held in, you know, very high wilderness place, but at the same time you'll go and find, you know, advertisements, get weddings married up there. It is brochured and promoted. So it's kind of, I don't know, it fits in people's minds in different ways. Some people see it as being this very remote wild place, but at the same time, you know, you go on the internet and you get photos of people getting married up there and all sorts of things. So I know equally lots of people, or not lots of people, quite a few people who, fly in with a tent, camp there for a week, go skiing, fly home again. So to me, it's quite front country, but again, I'm sure there are different perspectives that we can cover them tonight. The other one I propose is halfway between the Remarkables and this basin here, which is the upper left branch of the Doolans. And probably, it's really cool country actually. Like if you want a very interesting skiing country and interesting terrain, it's quite fascinating. Where I've been thinking would be Turks somewhere down in the middle. If you're going to Lake Hope, you can go up to the right and over those peaks. So to get here is kind of what I consider sort of moderate difficulty, when you're skiing, moderate walking. The next bit to Lake Hope is a bit more difficult and a bit steeper, and definitely would require more skills if you're there in winter. The third one, and this is highly contentious, and we'll work through it. We're all grown-ups here. Is either the Upper Doolans or Wye Creek. Now, yeah, let's just work through this. There's a lot of possible locations. One of the things I find very consistently, especially in backcountry skiing, is a lot of interest in something which is quite accessible. And again, I've tried to define what that is. We'll go through that. So there's a lot of possible sites for one close to the Remarkables. Some people have said, I would anything close to the max is too close. But equally, if you look at this, you kind of go, well, to get there, you've got to go through this lump of terrain here, which if you ski through there, is very subject to the weather, is subject to avalanche risk and things like that. So if you were there and a big storm came through, there's a good chance that this would be quite dangerous to get through the next day or something like that. And if there's high winds, you probably couldn't get it over things. So a few more things as we sort of knock around these ideas. The Otago Conservation Management Plan basically says shall not allow new permanent facilities in the Wye. So, and I talked to a few people who drafted the Conservation Management Plan, and I said, oh man, that looks a bit old. Is it still like that? So, but it's still in play, it's still a current one. They from a statutory point of view, they need to get renewed every 10 years, but I think they tend to get written and then it takes many years, 5 years for them to get approved and they come into action. Like the people I was talking to about it, had worked on it in this early 2000s, like 15 years ago, so they're quite surprised it was still current. There's a couple of other things in the Conservation and Management Plan. Allow further development and expansion of Remarkables, with the exception of Wye Creek, So again, the expansion of Remarkables has been a recognised thing for a long time. And there's one other, I think I was just referring to this and trying to work out what was the unique flora and fauna in Wye Creek. And they seem to mention more the cover beach forest, regenerative, tell us these big Latin words, and regenerating short tussock land. So, a few more thoughts, especially the front country part, and this was one of the things, like people like myself and a lot of people, quite happy to travel for 8 hours on skis, quite happy to make a whole lot of complex judgments about avalanche terrain and things like that. But people like myself are by far in the minority. And when I look at people who are new to the sport, I would say 60-70% is ski touring up Coronet, doing a few things, but they're not really going further afield, but they're wanting to. They're just not really too sure how to take the next steps and how to sort of venture further afield. So my thinking for a front country hub is the ideal thing is you need it far enough away to get rid of the riffraff, but you don't want to make it too far away that it's hard to get to, or it ends up being, you know, a kind of an elite destination. So my thinking is, for a front country hike, it'll be 2 to 3 hours from the ski field, or ski from the ski field. So, you know, it's a reasonable dose of exercise, a reasonable climb. Some of the, you know, morning ski through a growing peak. It's safer in the terrain, so the slopes are typically 20 degrees or less. You're not having to go across a 30-degree slope or something, which would typically be a higher risk situation. It's sunny, and it's also just a nice place to be both in summer and winter. Because I look at, you know, parts in the backcountry, and like there's one recently built at the Potts Range, which is probably a great ski place in winter, but in summer, it's just a big gravel valley. You wouldn't want to hang out there. So it's nice to have things which are good for both summer and winter. One of my ideas for a front country one was to say, okay, let's build a larger front country one so that you could do things like winter avalanche construction courses, you could have bigger groups. This is a Henry Van Ash construction. So I sort of invented the Turks here, and we built some, we sent some down to Antarctica and things. And then Henry picked up on the idea and took it to the next stage and built this, which is down in the mountains beyond Kingston. He's got, it's either 5 or 6 Turks in a circle, and put a big clear roof on. And it is quite an amazing space. Like, it's a very cool place to be. It's got a real kind of energy to it, a real sort of, I don't know, you know, it's all full of curves and things. One of the things that people have equally come back and said about this is, oh, we'll just end up being a party destination and things, but I've got a few thoughts about that. The other thing about Turks, and especially the larger one, like if we were to build a larger Turk somewhere, which is a multiple Turk one, is to basically make the thing quite electronic. Like, you know, for less than $100 a month, you can get a satellite Starlink connection, you have Bluetooth locks at all the doors. So you make it so that that public space here is open, but each of the actual Turks themselves have an electronically lockable door, which means you sort of fulfill that someone's dying in a blizzard, I need to get in requirement, but equally people can, you know who is in a Turk when, and if you've booked it, you can use that. Yeah. Actually, the next one other thing will be a booking system running across all of this. For things, again, once you start getting into that larger setup, to have a video camera, not that's looking into the Turks, but it's looking who is entering and exiting the whole thing, I think would be good. Mainly because you, if you look at, when I look at users, it's the ones that don't have any commitment to the area that are the ones that you're likely to have a problem with. Like people who you know, people who are members of clubs. We recently sort of extended our club membership to have a halfway thing with FMC, and it's kind of like, that's 22,000 people, but every one of them belongs to a club, and if something goes wrong, I could bring up the president of that club and say, hey, your so-and-so people visited and left the place a mess, what's the story? But, you know, when you have someone who has no connection to anything, then there are problems, and otherwise, you know, I just want to avoid them. Equally, in thinking about this, I've been thinking about toilets a lot, which isn't typically the thing you want to think about a lot. But I think it was Rob McNeil or someone said to me, he goes, oh, you know, when you start, whatever you do with a heart, you're going to spend more time on the toilet. And fortunately, with the ones in the Mahukino Covenant, because they're small, we've just got long drop toilets, which is allowed under the Otago Regional Council rules and things, they have some guidelines. But equally, once you start building a bigger structure, you're going to have to start solving a problem properly. If you look at how they do it in Mount Cook, where they fly out all the solid materials, it kind of works, but equally they have a proper setup to receive it at the other end. So I've been thinking you can kind of dehydrate it just better a lot. I've got some ideas. Anyway, the toilet is a big thing. How construction would work. So the advantage with the Turk design is that they are built in such a way that you basically pick them up and fly them in and drop them in your helicopter. So with a B3, which is a common helicopter, so each load is around a ton or so. And what my thinking would be is you'd build these things somewhere on the lower hills of the Remarkables, and then when they're all done, you just get a helicopter and pick them up, do several loads, and drop them off. So from an environmental point of view, you're not doing any construction up in the mountains. The environmental footprint of this sort of process is very low. And I think if you like look at the ones in Mountain Turk, you can go a metre away from them and there's virtually, you couldn't tell they're there. And you could pick them up, fly them out, and a year later, that patch of ground probably would have regenerated and things would all be looking the way they were. So the Turk design, which I haven't actually gone into, I've kind of assumed people are a bit familiar with it. It's basically water tank all fitted up and balanced with gravel, is a very low impact on the ground. So, a few more things. Building them is a lot of fun, it's very social, you get to meet cool people, you get to do something practical, gives you a sense of value. A couple more things with the costs. These are just my kind of guesses of what this would cost. Each one of the standalone Turks would cost $30,000. And then if you're going to make it bigger, so collection that could fit sort of between 12 and 18 people and also have a more sort of technically sophisticated toilet, I think you're looking at 150,000. So all up about 210,000. I really don't think the money would be a problem. I'm confident that I can find that. And when we set up the first lot, I sort of thought, oh yeah, I'm going to try and get some money and we'll build one of these Turks every 2 years and things. And then within a month, I had $100,000. And that was, starting from zero and having no track record or anything like that. And if you look at this, the club's really got, 130,000. So I say 100,000 we could release for this, and then we'll put on more membership. I'm sure we find money. So this is really just a case, an opportunity to discuss this. Really what I'm trying to work out is whether I should just go, okay, propose an idea, there was no support, there was huge support, there was people for it, there's people against it. Generally in life, I think that the greatest mistake is never to actually try. So, no one has invested a lot of money in this, and I have invested, 40 or 50 hours or something putting together a presentation, organising some things. So no one's committed a huge amount. So what I'm looking for is to work out whether there's the support, whether there's, middle ground for people who think this is good or not. As I said at the start, I see the evolution of the Remarkables as being an inevitability, and I also see this as being a bit of a one-off opportunity, because I think the fact that you've got this fast-track process going with the ski field provides a lot of leverage to get something like this established. When I look at this, I kind of go, I'm not the sort of person who can spend 5 years applying and working through a concession process and something like that. It's different when it's your job, like you're tasked with doing something and you keep chipping away at the block and trying to expand it. But in this case, it's kind of like I'm keen to work out if it's a success or not early on. And the great thing with Mountain Turk is I can remember I put together a proposal and I sent it to Russell Hamilton. I thought, he's a farmer, he's a little bit rough. I'll give him 3 days to read it, and I'll bravely bring him up and see what he thinks. And I sent it at about 8 o'clock that evening, and about 8 a.m. the next morning he rings me up and goes, Eric, I love it, come and do it. So that's the perfect kind of thing. So that's me, that's the what I'm suggesting. So what I thought is, if Paul, if you just want to come up and explain what you're doing, is that, do you want a map or is this slide here useful?
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, okay.
Good everyone. Not a few faces, but for those who don't know me, I'm Paul Anderson, Chief Executive for UNC. So thanks Eric for inviting me along to share some of our thoughts and aspirations for the Doolans. We've never made any secret of what we would like to do, and I think for as long as the Remarkables has been in operation, there's been talk about establishing downhill skiing over the Doolans Valley. As it transpired, as history's transpired, we know that it was established on the Rastus side, and that road has kind of become a gateway for most people getting access into the backcountry, the side country there. And I'm one of those people that has enjoyed that. So what we've looked at is the growth of this local community has started to outstrip the available recreational ski capacity. So there was a slide up there that pointed out that some years we've seen 275,000 skiers. That actually excludes staff. So with staff skiing on top of it, it's over 300,000 ski visits, and on a roughly 100-day season, that's about 3,000 people a day on average up the Remarkable ski area. So that's becoming quite congested. If any of you were up there during school holidays this year, you'll see what I mean. It was a little terrifying looking up Kirby Basin and seeing so many people coming down all at the same time. Kept our patrols very busy. So yeah, our aspiration has been to start to extend downhill skiing to the other side of the valley, which is the Doolans. And I appreciate that that is dry ski touring terrain. The way I've looked at it is that there is so much terrain to the south and actually also to the north and east that new lifts on that side would then create more opportunities to get to that terrain easily. So the process we're going through, and during 2024, when the fast track approvals process was established, we put in a draft proposal, which is a lot of people did. We were one of the ones that was accepted, mainly on the basis of the economic impact for this community. And that is now what they call Schedule A to the fast track approvals bill. Our experience to date is it's anything but fast track, and that we don't have a problem with that because anything that we're doing in this kind of environment has to be very thorough. So we've added to the work that Neil actually started for us probably 5-6 years ago, and have been busy doing studies and learning as much as we possibly can about that area, because we want our development to be very sensitive to the special environment it is, and allow as many people as possible to be able to use it. Current proposal is to do it by way of a gondola. So we had talked a few years ago about the possibility of a tunnel from the top of Kirby Basin, maybe about 50 metres down on Looker's left of that. The geotech and the Remarkables, those of you who are climbers will know this better than I do, but is not very permissive of tunnelling. We had some ski resorts. People come out from Europe, they do resort planning, and they're like, the Europeans go, yeah, sure, you just go straight through. But it's easy when you're dealing with granite in Europe, not so easy when you're dealing with shale and the kind of geotech we have here. So we are now looking at doing a gondola, which would lead from around the base building that currently exists, go up between Sugar and Kirby over Helicopter Ridge, which is here. Eric's pointed that out before, kind of up this way, over Helicopter Ridge and down the other side. And part of the idea of that, of being a gondola, is to make it really accessible to a wide range of people. So you can travel over, you can travel back, you can get off at the top, you can get off at either end. There's also some really mellow terrain where the lift would land on the other side, which would enable some more beginner facilities to be built, so magic carpet or the like. Because again, if you've seen our magic carpets, trying to teach hundreds and hundreds of children how to ski, they get pretty overloaded. So that's an opportunity to be able to do a bit more of that on the other side. With the gondola, we would need an expansion to our base area facilities, which would come in after that. So the idea for us would be to get the gondola in first. We would put some kind of basic shelter on the other side, because we're conscious that there may be a need to house people if the wind came up, we couldn't get people back. So we will need to build something over there, and there would be a food and beverage or a basic camp, camping style, kind of what the drones done in the other valley there. There would be infrastructure as well that would need to support it. So obviously we would need wastewater, water, data, power, and so on and so forth. We're essentially expanding what we call the skiers at one time, which is how you size a ski area. Remarkable's currently is built for 3,500 skiers at one time. This would expand it to around about 6,000 skiers at one time with that gondola. I think that is about, I'm happy to answer any questions later.
What about the car parking for these people who are going to go into this area, which seems to me the bottleneck to the whole expansion?
It is in the road, you're right, yeah. So we own the land down the bottom of the Remarkables where this exact road goes up. The current thinking is, because there's very little opportunity to expand the car parking at the top, one idea would be to put another layer on what we call car park one. That's very expensive and you know, not necessarily the best use of the funds for that. So, but we would look at doing buses and shuttles from the bottom. And you'll see there's a few of the ski areas like this around the world where the accessibility has been difficult, so we're probably investing more buses. I think down the track, the financial case may be there for the gondola that's been talked about for a long time up the Racersburg, but that is certainly not on our plans.
What about the area near the old sewer ponds with the car park?
Very difficult to get to, and it's wetlands. So yeah, it's a sensitive area down there, yeah.
You could fill it, but
Yeah, it's not get bogged down in car parking.
that is the big issue though. Because
Yeah,
you're
I know.
dealing with 3,000 skiers
Yeah.
going down the other side, and if you were to dovetail into it, then we've got to manage the people somehow.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm sure you have one question, then we'll get deal. Yeah.
Have you thought about access to the old one range coming out the other side to avoid the congestion that the fellow up there is talking about?
Yeah, we have. So we actually looked at Wentworth Station. That's actually been for sale recently. It is tiger country. You'd be building European style culverts and bridges to build a
Correct, but you'd actually be accessing some relatively underutilized conservation land, which is some of the best mountain biking you can see in your life. In the wintertime, that is where some of the kite balls go, a variety of people. That at the moment are wrecking all the roads, getting access in there, so you could be conserving that particular land, which is kind of like wasteland at the moment.
Let's not, okay, good point. Let's not get too sidetracked into motor vehicles. But it's always been one of those things. It's like, oh, can you get it? Thanks, Paul. Can you get it from the other side?
I have a question.
Oh, well, I was going to get Neil and Barbara, both of them, or one of
Can I
them.
just ask one question about
Yep.
Doolans?
Neil.
Would you get snow made in Doolans? And if so, where would you get your water? Because having been over there for a survey,
You had to decide. Look, we would. Our desire would be to make snow over there. It's hard to justify the level of spend that you need to do for the lifts and without securing some snow making around it.
Where's your water supply?
So we've done some hydrology studies over there. They're still underway, so we're not sure where the reservoir may be constructed, but that would be needed for the snowmaking.
Okay. Neil, do you want, I was going to get Neil up just to, Neil and Barbara are the two resident botanic experts, so I just thought I'd get Neil just to explain a bit about what fragile is.
First of all, a couple of points I'd like to make. There's a very good rock village and partway down the Wye. There's also another one like Hackney, just for those that are more adventurous perhaps.
Oh,
And the other-
like that now?
And the other point is, we've got developments in the Rastusburn, there's three lovely valleys here. Rastusburn has been developed, the Doolans is likely to be, we need to do the Wye as well. The Wye is special, there's just under 300 different species of plants in the Wye Creek. And it's the only area that goes from mountain top to lake shore, almost natural vegetation all the way with very little disturbance. And we've been seeing photos of snow cover over all the mountains, and I don't have a problem with plants. They're all under cover and they're all sheltered during the winter, so that's not the problem. The problem is the summer, and if you would have been up Lake Harbour and seen the damage, or perhaps you didn't even notice it. But there was beautiful cushion vegetation all around that lake originally, and most of that's been stamped to extinction, in fact. The plants at that altitude grow very slowly, so any disturbance at all takes a very long time to recover. And I don't agree with Eric that humans can help with conservation. All the humans are doing are repairing what other people have done in the past. So personally, I think people right out of the Wye will get it, but they're not going to go there either. But the main problem is if you put a hut in there, it's easy to get to, even though I can get there at this stage unadjusted. Once people get to know about it, they'll be going over there, and you'll get all this lovely cushion vegetation. Some of the very special plants up here, some of 90% of them are only found in New Zealand, so they're part of our home, if you like. And it'd be nice to think that we could keep one area. Well, there's quite a few people going through there now. Once you put a hut in there, you're going to get a lot more. And that's my concern. But anyway, the vegetation is unique, and a lot of it's very small, so you've got to get down your hands and knees.
Okay.
It'd be nice to come up here with me some days and deal with that. I'm quite happy.
Great, thank you. So, yeah, it was interesting looking at the Wye, because I actually searched quite widely through all the literature, and there was nothing, I kind of knew it was special, but there was nothing actually written, there was no reserve, it was in the conservation plan, there was no recognition of it. So it was only, I mean, what Neil says here, again, is, I was kind of aware of it, but it does reinforce what I was thinking. If anyone had read my very original proposal, I always saw Wye as a bit of like, oh no, that would be too contentious.
FMC have been trying to get that whole area right across the Nevis National Park.
Yes, I have, and I was involved in that, and I did actually read the document, but again, they didn't talk to you, Neil, but your knowledge. So from here, what I thought, we've basically heard everything. What my thinking is that I want to hear from you guys what people think, whether they think having a few more huts or Turks in the backcountry would be good, whether they should just be small, 4 to 6 affairs, or whether having a larger front country run would be good. Whether I'm just, banging against a brick wall, I should give up at this. So, yeah. I can see some people like you were shaking your head when I say my hope.
Is it me?
No, we've got chicken shop next to the bar. Yeah. So anyway, let's all just talk loud voices and hopefully we can all hear each other.
One at a time.
No, if anyone else, yeah? Okay, Spoon. All right, yeah, Spoon. And don't talk about car parks, please.
Why not? Okay, you get there. So, David, that was my name. My first interactions with DOC were in 1985. There's a whole bunch of rules that were given to me about glacier skiing from a commercial point of view. So it's now 2025, so a bit of history with DOC. I'm trying before the Turks, and we have positioned them. I'm trying before the remarkable expansion also into the Doolans. Concern I do have this with the car parks and how are we going to deal with the congestion that we get to get to these places. Because I'm used to flying helicopters.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, well, not anymore. So I would like to see perhaps a bit more budget figures, because I think we might have a battle with DOC in terms of jumping through a few hoops. There was a hut that was tried to be built there 20 years ago, they got turned down. It was from a commercial point of view, not an amateur point of view, so we've got some good news to stand on there. In terms of the Remarkables development into the Doolans, I can see us ski tourists and mountain dwellers going to further afield, and I'm excited about that. So good luck with that, Queensland ski. I think with the way the Conservation and State Management Plan is now, you've got quite a few hoops that you've got to jump through, and I hope you successfully do it. So if you want any help, let me know.
Okay, thank you. Yes, actually, that is one point that Christine raises. Just the next person just want to come up while I talk, or just maybe do this thing. Yeah, that's right, you can be next. With the original Turks, we had Anderson Lloyd helped with all the legal stuff, off pro bono, off the school, did the resource consent, pro bono. So, yeah, we're hoping Alan Breeze is off to help with the legal stuff. So, I'm pretty good at twisting people's arms. We had to fly around landscape architects, and we had to look at tussocks blowing in the wind and say it's beautiful and things. So, I am very aware that it could be a long slog. So, Rebecca.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Rebecca, and I'm a long-term local here. And for many years, ever since I've been here in the early 80s, I have travelled through Wye Creek. I've run it, I've walked it, and it's very easy. It's very accessible, and you can walk it in 6 to 7 hours. My concern is, and I admire what Eric has done with his Turks in the other place, my concern is if you put a hut there, you've got a track. You've got a track. It's not just one track, you're already going to have many tracks. Like Mount Turk, which was a fabulous place to go to, and now there's so many people going up there, they have to have some communication up there because everybody's getting lost in that country. And I'm concerned about having Turks in an area so beautiful and so accessible for all of us that you're going to end up with a whole lot of people you don't want there. And also, it's so close to us. It's so special. I like to think that my grandchildren and great-grandchildren can go into the wild and not see a hut and tracks where people are going. There's lots of other places that can do this. The Pizer Range already has huts if you want educational purposes. There's a hut up high where people can go and stay in and ski tour. There's lots of places like that. So I'm sorry, Eric, I won't answer.
What about,
I just answer because it's too close to the human population and people thinking to it.
what about the other ones further down the range?
Well, I think they're still going to get there.
Right.
You know, and as you pointed out, that's quite difficult terrain, and the weather comes in, you've got people, they could be stuck in it. I just think Cape Hope is a very special place. Yeah, people fly in and have their wedding taken or photo taken there, but not that many. They're not walking in there, having a picnic there and a party there and their wedding. They're just having a one-off photo. So I just think you have to be very careful about this. I wouldn't like to think your legacy of what you've done is destroyed by doing this.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lindsay, and I'm going to be local too, and I very much enjoy that area in the summer, because it's not all about winter, and it's 4 months of skiing, and we all know what the ski area looks like in the summer. It's, you know, not very good. I mean, they've done their best, but I agree with Robina. I'd like to think that my grandchildren can enjoy what I've enjoyed, and I think it change, not just the Turks, but the expansion of the ski area, it changed everything over there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Mark Reinhock and I do a lot of touring and split-boarding over the back of the Wye. Sometime walking in there as well. It's a very special place. There's hardly anyone out there. When you go out there, there's no one there. In fact, Eric turned up with 30 people doing this mountaineering course, and I'm like, oh my God, it's busy today. And that was because there wasn't snow elsewhere. But if we want to retain our natural landscape, our national parks, we have to get people in there to use it. So this development going into the Doolans is going to open up a lot of opportunities. I don't know how many people know about the Old Woman Range and what people do there, and all the homes that are up there and destroying that area. There's kiteboarders there that do fantastic terrain. Henry's a little bit further south with his really noisy moto machines and everything. But the zone in between there is a beautiful zone, but it's not being utilised. The only thing that is out there are the rabbits and the deer and the possums. And what happens with development is that we now have money to control the pest and try and eradicate them, the same as what happens in the national park. So in 20 years' time, our conversation here will probably be irrelevant because it will be developed and there will be people out there. So we have to look about how we do this. As soon as that gondola goes in there, and they will have to dig down in the helicopter ridge and make it big. It's obviously windy there. So it won't be operating unless they dig it down and hide it in and goes over the back. So 4 months is not enough to pay off a gondola. It's going to be summertime activity that gondola is going to open up into this terrain, the mountain biking, the trekking. Think what it's going to do for Alex and Clyde if they have another access around the back to remarkables. So I love being out there by myself, but we really need to share it and think about how we're going to maintain the diversity, the plants, and try and control what the deer and the animals are destroying at the moment. So I'm a mixed bag on it, but I see that it's a good opportunity to have other access into the mountains through from Clyde, Bendigo, and also Alex. So yeah, good luck.
Yes, thank you. I just clicked it as when we met in a while.
You said I
Yeah, I did.
Hi everybody, my name is Ian Moss. I'm not as very old local resident, yeah, 20 odd years ago. Yeah. I do a bit of ski touring out there as well, running and so on, walking and so on. It's a beautiful area, very easily accessible. My main concern as well is tracks in summer. I mean, it's a beautiful area to go to and come from the remarkables. There's no trails there, okay? There's no cairns. Or maybe there was a clear disease, maybe, but not before, okay. It's very accessible. If we put huts up there, anywhere along the trail, there will be trails. There will be people coming in, and it will get really, really busy. Okay. The other thing is also, my background is in Switzerland. Okay. We built in the 70s and the 60s and the 80s, we built a lot of infrastructure because everyone said that that's the way to go. Okay. Locals now go to other places to experience their backcountry. Okay. Because it has been built and it's been used by overseas people now. So yeah, be aware of that. I mean, if you build something, people will come. And they're not going to be locals. Okay. So I wonder how a local club as well can support that over the long term, yeah, if we have any local development in there as well. And the other thing as well is collateral. What are we accepting as collateral? Developing everything. Once nature is gone, it's gone. We have one shot at it, one heart is enough. And that's one.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I do live in Queenstown. I'm not a long-term local, but I plan to stay here for the rest of my life. I came here because I value the backcountry. I value the fact that things are unspoiled there, that you can walk up somewhere without tracks, without evidence of other people, human people, polluting the area. And there are places around Queenstown now that have got far too busy with locals and overseas people, and they don't look after our backcountry. To build a further ski resort over there will destroy what I love there. My other concern is we are facing global warming. That means our climate is changing. The likelihood of snow remaining on the Remarkables forever and ever is light. It's going to get less snow there, and to build a resort dependent on snow, with all the car parks and infrastructure is needed, will destroy that land that we value. I think for Queenstown, we have a lot of areas around that a lot of overseas tourists and the locals use, but our precious backcountry that is pristine is also accessible for us at this moment. If that goes, we're going to have to travel much further into the backcountry. I don't want to see that in my lifetime, and I'm sure my family don't want to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I just flicked this map up for the Swiss guy. The Swiss guy. Oh, Europe. Just because I think it's important to kind of disentangle the conservation argument, because I think there is a very legitimate argument that we have this really accessible, very pristine alpine environment, especially in Wye. And but I think, you know, if you look at New Zealand as a whole, there's that all that green stuff is conservation land. And I've been marching around it since I was a little kid, and still a hell of a lot of it I haven't seen. So what actually makes the Wye special is that it's so accessible. And that's the uniqueness of it. And I'm definitely hearing this message, and I always thought I'll throw the Wye in there, but I think it'll get shot down in flames. So I think I'm very interested also in hearing other people's thoughts about like Cove and Half Queen and things like that. But a common theme is this, more people, more wear and tear and things. Okay, do we have some more?
Yeah, I've just got a really quick question.
Yeah.
If these go ahead, are they going to be the same as the ones that we've already had with the not only access?
Yes, it would be the same structure. There's not going to be random people. So we have changed it slightly. So we have club members, we have FMC members, and then we have the general public. And the general public can't be there without a club member or an FMC member, because we just don't want random people. They leave the place a mess, they don't respect the environment.
So the people that do occasionally go to the Turks who just use them because they're there in the open and they're not members and that, would you police that with your electronic access and stuff? Or?
Yeah, we could. And it's something I haven't really, you're kind of imposing about $1,000 a year on a Turk, but then you do have a good solid management thing. It means if you've got a bookend, you can go there. It means you know everyone who's there. there's no random, so it means you can control it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, people who, you know, I, with a Turk club, and I go, I don't, probably somewhere between 10 and 20% of freeloaders just turn up. And they annoy me, A, because they're checking the system, but B, because they're just not participating. It's like, is it so hard just to participate? Yeah. So yeah, I do think we need to make sure we have a control system.
My name's Bruce. I'm a former resident of Queenstown, soon to be coming back. I've been going for about 8 years. I was a concessionaire running a guiding company that produced remarkables as our sort of bread and butter for instruction and guided trips. The first ice climbing ascents in the Wye Creek, which was not popular until it became popular. And things, so yeah, you definitely see, you build it and they will come. You make something accessible, or you prove it can be done, and it gets done. I'm not saying in any jerks, it's only been a way since it's all happened. I think I'm really on board for the brain space that it's taken up. But you talk about a 3-hour sort of window from where this area proposed, we think it, you talk about this inevitability, where that 3 hour, that might just throw your Wye Creek system out. I looked at building a memorial hut for a friend that died in 1999. I was in cahoots with the New Zealand Alpine Club, and got really supportive. We dropped that plan when Mountain Guides were looking at that commercial application. But we'd, say for our planning, we were quite a ways down, but then we didn't want to jump in if there was going to be this conflict with a private operator. So I'm sad to not see it, but at that time there was no ski hill expansion, so we weren't facing that as the enemy. Personally, I think I'm against that because, it's a concessionaire or whatever. I had my time shop at Candy Rabbit, but NZC can go on with the D9 and putting stuff. So I don't know what the future will look like with the stuff over there. I think you might have to just go further away. I think it seems to be the sentiment of people. All of these areas were really, the Red Milford were really significant. Places that would have had people, like we've all been in there, so we can't say, just turn the taps off. We've done it, we want it ourselves. It's, I think, how you mitigate it. People might say, be aghast if there was a formal dog track right through the length of the Wye Creek from the lake to the helicopter ridge or something. That might keep people on the trail, because if you didn't have a track on the red route, you're going to be willy-nilly kind of everywhere, and you would destroy things. So whether or not it's inevitable, but you have to manage it, you have to work in with all of the agencies, possibly. If you want to run front country, or where I'm living in Canada, we got the sack country. I ski straight out of my ski area of Gurney, and amazing ski terrain and things. I really hope that Margaret, like that conservation side of it was there. I think everyone here, has that same care, but we're out there stomping on those plants and doing it ourselves. So we just got to take a look in the mirror and see how we do it in a bigger picture. I think further away and make great work. Okay.
Thanks. Just to guide, just the sort of the feedback I've got so far. If we just, from our conversation, any people's thoughts here, if we just eliminate the why, because that obviously is a sensitive area, I'd like people's thoughts on some of the idea of, the 3 hours, like that basin halfway between Lake Hope and Wye and things. Yep, you're going to have to come up again.
Oh, I don't have to come up.
Oh, yeah, just give us a quick.
If you develop Doolans, they're going to go into the Wye. So unless you put a control on people in some regards, and in the summertime, if they do have a track there, then they won't be wandering around. So our national parks only exist because people have to pay to go and use them. If they didn't, they wouldn't be there, and they'd be dead all over the place. There'd be no control.
Right. Okay. We've got some more. Right.
Can I speak to the back here?
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm Rob and I do live on the other side of the Doolans. And I kind of, although I don't see great need for a massive road to give us access into remarkables, I do kind of like the idea of linking this proposal to the needs. Because you've got 4 easements coming up to the valley. And we know from the traverse that coming down to Treble Cone has sometimes been problematic for getting slow safety into kilometres. So I kind of like the idea, probably walking, maybe looking at a lower site than ever, so I share the concern about the why. And hey, look, if you can, you can probably connect all the way to Gardens through the ski field. Some appropriate located service. Yeah, so just, I'll come here with an open mind, but usually you come to these things with a strong opinion, one way or the other.
Okay, great, thank you. What about you, Chris?
Well, okay,
And that was Chris's beautiful wee children.
Oh, yeah, I saw pictures, I was running in town, actually. Yes, I'm Chris. I used to generally do a lot of, I don't know, adventuring around the place. I guess my view is probably like a lot of people here, I'm against the ones in the Wye Creek, just because I think from a sort of visual point of view, it's kind of nice to something you can come over and not see huts straight in front of you. But for the other suggestions of Lake Hope and the halfway point, for those two options, I guess for me, with kids in particular, it's cool having, we've got obviously some Turks up there, but it'd be fun to have some other Turks that you could go to, especially in the winter time, because camping really is a little bit average, especially with young kids. And I guess both of those areas, I think they're not visually like, I mean, obviously when you're there, you see a little Turk, but the Turk itself, it's not that you see it from miles away. We go by Creek, you sort of see a Turk down before you. They're kind of, they're hidden above, especially positioned in a, suitable location. And I guess I think the single Turks, I don't know, they're a cool asset to be able to go adventuring. And the reality of the numbers of people, it's not going to be floods of people forming track from Remarkables into Lake Hope because there's a Turk there. I mean, it's just ludicrous to think it's going to suddenly get tracked. It's just, I mean, the amount of times these Turks currently get used in the summer is pretty minimal. So I don't see that being a big issue. But at the same time, I do think people say, oh, development's inevitable. It's also a bit of a load of rubbish. Like, I think we do want to preserve areas. But I guess I feel those having a couple of Turks is not going to, I guess, develop in the ones like Hope and others. I don't think it's going to suddenly create this big development. It's just two Turks, and if you really want to remove the helicopter out of you.
Yeah, and also we can make these a bit more of winter venues, like as Neil said, it's not a problem when things go in the snow. They could be limited in some use, and as Chris says, if you look at the Turks up there, we're doing all right, we're breaking even, but you probably find it's like 5 to 10% occupancy. It's not like these things are chocker, so we can limit it and manage it. And it is a club, we're open people to join and help guide it and things like that. So we've got another 10 minutes, so a few more.
If you descended up, we've been along the ridge to Lake Hope.
Yeah.
And descent down to Lake Hope is difficult.
Yes.
Have you done that?
I've done it on very icy conditions at skis and before. Yeah.
I just think for another family going wrong, unless there's some notes that they can look at, it's quite a difficult descent unless they get over to the Wye side and go further down and come back up.
Yeah.
It's
definitely the final half of Lake Hope is a bit more advanced than the bit between there and the Remarkables, but
I guess onto that sort of safety grab that's going to do, they're all, when you say it's difficult to get out there, they're going down into the Doolans Valley, back up through the it's not, they're not stuck there because of.
Yeah. It's all, people like you have a great capacity to suffer. As do I. Not everyone, I've realised, getting married, not everyone's, my wife's very good at suffering, actually. Okay, I've got another 10 minutes. I'll show you. Yes.
I'm just a little bit, I'm not quite clear. It's a club art, but access is restricted.
Access
where is
groups,
it not a private hut? What's a private hut?
well,
What's a club?
okay, a club hut is, anyone can use it who joins the club. The thing is not run with the intention of making a profit or anything like that. The finances, the membership, the meeting, the decision-making in the club is entirely public. So, and generally clubs tend to run on kind of consensus. Voting, like when with our Turk behind Mountain Peak close to the cycleway, the trails trucks were very keen for us to build one so we could use, so they could put people in and charge Aucklanders $80, $90 a night. And we kind of looked at it and we thought, no, because that'll make us commercial. Then you can't get people to volunteer or repair it because you've got people passing through and things. So to me, what a club is as much to do with its ethos. It's like, it's something that people are prepared to put their spare time in and do and believe in. So it's, the biggest difference is the cultural difference. And also there's the openness. Anyone can join, anyone can have their say, anyone can join the committee and guide it. You know, the club's kind of run by 4 of us at the moment. And if more people wanted to help, that'd be great. So hopefully that answer. We got, oh sorry, Kai, good news. Oh, you want?
Alright, so one thing I've been hearing a lot is that people want to make sure that the Wye Creek, their grandchildren can enjoy it. And one thing is that if you want your grandchildren to enjoy it, you have to be able to get in there. And actually, it's 7 hour walk for the generation of 2025. It's a long way. And so I think having Turks there is a pretty great opportunity to get a lot of young people into the outdoors. I mean, a great example is Nick out here. And going to the Turk Club there was his first time skiing. So if we can get more things like that, then it's going to benefit national parks and everything, because people are more likely to keep them good as an event. So yeah.
Thank you. So this guy,
That's a question on the farm of BZT. Is there any idea on it? And like talking about removing Turk, you know, the Wye Creek or closer
we're not going to do one in Wye Creek.
Yeah.
So someone, say that's like halfway along.
Somewhere, or anything that was there until the future development when the front, or the masses come into what was now the backcountry. You know, like you say, like what would be the relocation cost? Would that be something that?
I mean, like it would be about to relocate it. I mean, the hardest thing, the Turk Club is finding places to build Turks. We got one that's fine, and so the cost of relocating and flying it out, you're probably looking at $2,000-3,000, which is pretty minor. So the ability to go, oh, this ain't working, we're damaging the vegetation, there's too many people, we can pick it up and move it somewhere else. But one of the things in this is actually trying to get a foot on the ground with Doc. You know, people have been saying to me, yeah, oh, the Two Thumb Range, you should do something there, or County people, and it's kind of, Paul probably knows what it's like dealing with Doc. I've just avoided it, I've sidestepped it, and I've come across this one and gone, oh, it might shortchange the process, it might get it done before I die or something like that. Yeah, so that's my thinking, but yeah, you are right, they're very movable, we can control them, yeah. There's a question from that, oh.
I was just gonna, my thoughts would, my thoughts would be, I'm pretty keen on that sort of 3 to 4 hours from where the new base is on the other side towards the Doolans. I think that opens up a bit for people, and it's the country, if you're based there, you can go there and back pretty quite a bit without, being in a great deal of difficulty. I'm not that keen on the Lake Hope one. I guess 2 reasons. I don't know, just the place with nothing. But the biggest would be, I've been along that top of the Doolans through into Wye Creek in the summer, and in the winter. I don't know, it just scares me a bit that last, like I said, that last bit into there is pretty serious.
Yeah.
With snow, you've got to get your route finding right, you're traversing under and above, plus at 45 degrees from my memory on street slopes. If you put it through there, you promote people doing that in winter, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's sort of spot, which is you're looking down, you see the
Yeah.
I'm going to get the,
I think,
I don't know.
yeah, I think we face the same challenge with the Market Federal Covenant. And it's interesting, in the first year, there's all these people would get in touch with me and go, oh, I'm really good skier. And I'm like, yeah, you've done your backcountry ski. No, but I'm really good on the ski field. And I'll be like, just don't go backcountry until you work out what you're doing. So I think whenever you set up something in the mountains, you are setting up a target for people to get to and take risks. But generally, I think it's something you've got to accept. Yeah.
I mean, could you consider just putting it on the ridgeline, based on the ridgeline rather than down like Hope?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually, you know, there's just
There's a lot of
country.
flexibility to be able to put it.
Yeah, it's just country lends itself to lots of little terraces, and you go through there and you go, oh, this is cool. There's a little patch here, and just below the ridge, and way up high, and the view's amazing, and you didn't even realise that patch was there. Yeah. So we've got about 5 minutes before I wrap it up. If any more people got suggestions or thoughts?
I just think people have forgotten that once that lift goes in there, it gives so much more access, so there will be people in there. And there's a hut, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a hut on the Doolans further down.
Yeah, yeah.
So how far down is it? Is that on the map?
It is there. It's quite, when you get down into that country, it's quite sort of great film and it's rubbish. I've been there
That's the
once.
most amazing biking terrain in the world.
It's that little one there. Yeah. Okay, have we got any more? Yes.
Maybe having numbers of how many people are actually using it, perhaps, Turks, and how far they are, then that can help people to figure out actually how much they are used and how many trappers they get.
Yeah, so currently, I think the Crown Basin Turk gets about 500 people nights a year. The Polnoon one is the quietest, which gets about 150. And when you consider they're often groups of 3 or 4, you'll often say, oh, actually, no one stayed in that for a month or something. Which is kind of cool that we can still break even with it all.
Bookings don't match occupancy. I would say the bookings versus occupancy is not much more than 50%. I don't know.
Right.
The number of people that actually make a booking, shrug their shoulders, don't get there.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
quite, I don't know, that's
Right.
my count.
Okay.
I've got a little bit of impression, just reading up this.
Okay.
Not more than 50%.
Yep. Okay, down the back here.
I'm on the dance for my today. My background's in speech and mass planning and other things for a long time now. And I think it would actually be something that could be a really good resource. For me, it's the most logical location around that area. I do understand everyone's concerns about the track development through summer and the impact on the environment in that time of year. Perhaps looking at reduced capacity or just not operating through summer could be a way to balance that, particularly in winter, it being a destination for ski tours in that area and also ice climbers at the top of the Wye Valley. It would be really popular, accommodation for the community. But yeah, it's completely appreciate like there's a lot of really good opinions here and it is complicated. It's not a straightforward thing. I think all the locations have their own pros and cons, so good on you for going through this process. I do a lot of work with the biking club here in Queenstown, and I know it's a good job like they're changing legislations around and requirements for these kind of infrastructures and the public consultation process is probably what's going to be needed for structures that are in place for more than 10 years. So just for your knowledge, like they might end up taking down that road, which
Right. Well, at least it made a start today. Yeah, I must say I was expecting to have a whole lot of ice climbers here. It's going,
I'm a bit disappointed that there's not a lot. It's definitely like clear, but there's not a lot representing my country in terms of, so I thought there'd be more here.
yeah, so did I actually, yeah.
Yeah, and like, and also, just with the future development in the southern corridor, there's more people that are going to be living at the base of the remarks going forward, like that's just a fact. and Wye Creek, whether we want to reduce people going in there, the numbers of people are going to increase in that valley because it's one of the most easy accessible places in summer and winter. So people are going to be there regardless of whether or not you put a hut in there, and that is going to increase in the long term.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So I looked at it and I thought, well, I reckon we could pull in, say, $20,000 and 500 hours of labour to actually do some tracks and boardwalks through Wye Creek as part of this project. And I kind of think there is a thing here that you go and do something good, you build something, you generate some revenue, you pull people together, and you can do something good. And then we go, oh, we don't want that, and we also don't want the people, but we can't control the people. So we're going to get a whole lot of people walking through the Wye and not have and dots broke, so they're not going to be able to do it. So, yeah. Now, there's one more question, the one in the blue, and then we'll go. Which I did say. Oh, okay. There's one in the blue, then the guy in the blue. And then we'll
So
go.
I think, listening to everybody, I agree with Neil and Romina and Margaret and Lindsay about just the preciousness of Wye. I think it's so accessible. It's such a nice 6-7 hour walk. It's just so accessible. Yes, there's going to be more people coming through it, and like or not, but I just don't think it's the right place to try and put it there. I think I'm glad to hear you say that you're comfortable stepping away from that area. And I think I agree with Rob, the connection to the Nevis and the terrain that's over the back there through the Doolans and down Hoppet Saddle, Nevis Crossing, all that sort of space in there. I think, to put something in that side, I'm more comfortable with that. But also with the Hope Lake notion, when you look at that map that you've got behind you there, that terrain between Hope and the Nevis Crossing is so complex. And I think if you would try to snug a Turk in that terrain, I would prefer to see it back well away from Lake Hope.
Right.
I prefer to give Lake Hope and all its little wetlands and all its little rises and rocky pitches and ridges and stuff. I'd like to see just the beauty of that place protected and not encroached on by structure. If you go to that space, I would prefer to see you back off.
Okay. Okay. You've had too many questions. Let's go on the blue and then we're going to wrap up.
Just a quick point about the one in number 2 you were looking at.
Yeah.
I don't think the expansion of the Doolans would actually make that any easier to get to there. I ski tour a lot in Branch Doolans Creek, and it's quite a commitment to get in there.
Yeah.
I don't think many people would actually, or as many people as what people are thinking would actually get into that.
I think you're right. You've got to.
You're going to go to traffic, so
and
on the far side, you've got to go back down the other side,
Yeah.
back up to the ridge.
Yeah, and equally, the quickest way in now is going to go up into the Wye and around the ridges.
Yes.
And that probably wouldn't change.
There's often no snow that always blowing away.
Yeah. So, okay, I think we'll wrap it. Is it 30 seconds?
How many people go to Lake Hope a year at the moment? Yeah. So are there 500 people that go there in 1 year? Are there 1,000? Are there 200? Do we know?
No, we don't. Yeah.
So don't we need to do a little more research?
Yeah. Okay, so I am going to follow this up with the survey just to get people's ideas. But thank you everyone for coming along. It's been a good discussion. I think in the last week that I've realised there's more people swinging against such ideas than for it. And having said that, it's interesting depending on where people are. If you talk to people further away, like in Christchurch, they're like, oh great, more backcountry things. When you talk to people a bit closer, obviously have a very strong connection with the Wye. I almost regret mentioning the Wye because I feel like it's diverted us a lot in our conversations.
Do you think we should just have like a show of hands for like option 2?
Let's say who's keen on option 2, which is It's just a single 6-part Turk in the middle, not like hope, not in between.
In a periphery that is around 2.
Yeah, around 2. Yeah. And who would be opposed to 2?
Opposed to any Turks, actually.
Right. In that area. So you're opposed to anything sort of in the Humboldts and things. Because, what's that? The Humboldts are architectism, sorry. Wrong European explorer. Okay, we won't get into understanding the rationale, but thank you everyone. It's been very worthwhile. It's given me a good idea of where people's thinking is. It's been valuable. I'll be following up with a survey. If you go to the Mountain Turk website, just Google Mountain Turk, you'll come to our website and register for our emails, then you'll get one of those. So yes, thank you everybody. Thanks for coming out.
I love you.